Hello everybody, Brother Ed here. Welcome to Revelation Broadcasting. Excuse me. Sorry it's been a while. I know it's been a while since you guys have heard from me. I've just been really busy. Personal matters of finance, work. Fortunately, the work part has evened out. I do have a new job. I left Domino's. That was just not working out. And I went to Hardee's, where I am getting an appropriate wage as well as an appropriate amount of time worked to make a living. So that part is good. Moving away from that, by the way, that is a blessing. Huge blessing. Mice, still a problem, not as much as they were, but still. At any rate, God is working things out somehow, some way. Yes. My journey to God is leading me, has been for a long time actually, since I was a little boy, leading me into a direction that I didn't really expect. I didn't really know exactly what to expect. But there were things that I saw in the Bible when I was just a little boy that just didn't seem like they added up, just didn't make sense to me. And then, I got to remembering this lady, beautiful Greek lady, biblical scholar, also an atheist, for whatever her reasons, I don't know about that, but she's an atheist, but she's also a biblical scholar. Her name is Francesca Stavrakopoulou. Very knowledgeable of the Bible. Probably one of the most knowledgeable biblical scholars out there. She really loves the Bible, even though she's an atheist. I know it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense, but she really loves the Bible, mainly because it has, in so many ways, shaped so many cultures throughout the world. And she's right about that, it has. But, I'm learning some things from her that have really put me in a situation where I'm having to reorganize my faith. I mean, she makes a great deal of sense with everything that she says. And the number one thing that really is making a great deal of sense to me, and has since the first time I heard her say it, which was not actually recently, sorry, it's bugs, was a couple of years ago. She has a mini-series documentary on Netflix called Buried Secrets of the Bible. I really would recommend anyone who is interested in the Bible see that series. And do your own research. See if you can corroborate what she's saying. But what makes a great deal of sense to me, the only biblical figure that the majority of biblical scholars actually do agree did exist, although many of them disagree in what capacity he existed. Many do agree that Jesus, or Yahshua, did actually exist. He was a real person. But all of the Old Testament figures and or characters, let me just mention this. The Exodus, for example. Number one, the Exodus. That was a huge event. If it had actually taken place, millions of people leaving one country, going to another, with millions of livestock, as well as transportation devices, however old they would have been. And 40 years worth of travel, all of those millions of people. I'm sorry, but there would be, especially in that region, which, as she states, and she's not the only scholar that has said this, and they're right, that is the most excavated region of the world, simply because it is the home of three major religious belief systems. You are not going to tell me that an event the size of the Exodus, the way that it's laid out in the Bible, that there would not have been found a lot. We're not talking just a few pieces or shards of pottery and a tablet with the name of Moses or what have you. There would be a lot of both archaeological and anthropological evidence all over the place to substantiate that that happened had it actually occurred. And there is none. There is none. And not only that, a kingdom the size of that which was ruled by David and Solomon? Definitely, there would be lots of tangible evidence to substantiate that those kings existed and that they actually reigned over such a vast empire. There's no evidence. There is no archaeological nor anthropological evidence of any kind to substantiate that they ever even existed. There is a king who did exist 3 or 4 generations after David, and that kind of actually sounds a lot like the David story. So I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, that David and Solomon were not based on an actual king that did live and reign, but several generations after the 10th century BC, which is when David is alleged to have been king of Israel. Now, as far as the flood is concerned, I feel personally, this is just me speaking, not Francesco, but I feel that there are just too many religious traditions that way predate the Old Testament, that have the same story for that story to not be true. That's me. I believe that that's somehow, some way that actually did happen. I do no longer believe that it covered the top of every mountain in the world to the point that everything and everyone was wiped out. That part I don't believe. I do believe that maybe the majority or a large portion of the inhabitants, including animals and what have you, did get wiped out, but I don't believe that everybody did, or we wouldn't be here. I don't believe that we all came from 8 people. I just, not anymore. It's obviously not true that the Exodus took place, or there would be evidence to substantiate it, and there is none. It's obviously not true that David and Solomon existed during the period that they are said to have existed, or there would be evidence of that, and there is none. So, taking these things into account, as far as I'm aware, there isn't any archaeological and or anthropological evidence to substantiate that any of the Old Testament people who were mentioned there ever existed. Now, one could say, how is it so detailed if it didn't happen? Well, how is a modern novel so detailed when it's fiction? It's fiction, didn't happen, but it's very detailed, and it's very realistically put together. So, it reads as though it's a real things actually happening or did happen, but they didn't. So there you go. That's the way I maneuver that. I do find it, however, very interesting that the only figure of the Bible that the majority of scholars do agree did exist is Christ. However, if David, sorry, but it's the way it is, if David didn't exist, then the lineage of Christ cannot be traced to David. That's just the cold, hard truth. You can't trace your lineage back to someone who never existed, and there's no evidence that David did. So we do know that Christ was a Jewish man, born to Jewish parents. And he taught for 3 years before his demise and potential resurrection. Whether that actually happened or not, I don't know. I can't say. And I can't even say at this point that I have faith that it actually happened. Because I don't. I don't know. I wasn't there. I am a firm believer in the teachings of Christ. And I do the best I can to follow them, because I do believe that they are the best that there is for anyone to live by. But at this point, I'm not really so sure that I can say that I certainly don't believe that he was God incarnate. I never did believe that, because it just didn't make any sense the way the Bible reads about him and the things that he actually said about himself. That never made sense. I don't believe that. Did he resurrect? He may have. I want to believe that, and I tend to lean toward that, but I do believe that he was and is the son of a God. I do not believe that he is God incarnate, and I never did believe that. And although I don't have any evidence to substantiate this, the Bible doesn't say this anywhere, I personally, it's just me, my own personal feeling, I believe that Yahweh and Asherah, goddess of Hebrew religion, whether they want to admit it or not, she is, I believe that they came to earth as mortals, humans. They married. They were Mary and Joseph. And I believe that they created Christ the same way everybody else did, except that they were God and Goddess who created a God's Son. That's my belief. Like I said, there's nothing in the Bible that states that. That's just what I have surmised out of what I have learned. And that's just what I believe. People can call me blasphemous, sacrilegious. They can call me what they want. I don't really care. What I believe is what I believe, and I'm sharing it with you because you're special to me. But, if people don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't care. That's why I don't go to church, because I don't like a lot of people who do go to church. They want you to think that you have to believe exactly what they believe the way they believe it, and I don't have to do that. I just don't. God doesn't say anywhere that I have to do that. Well, at any rate, thank you for listening. I know this is a little different than what I normally would talk about, but I wanted to share my journey with you. My journey to God, my journey to Goddess, my journey to Christ, and what I feel is the whole truth. I'm still learning that. But I would definitely suggest anyone who is interested, go into Netflix and look up that documentary miniseries. I think you will find it very interesting. I really think you would. So, till next time, Brother Edward, signing out.